Hello everyone, happy Monday. I want to do a quick video on practicing how to speak our truth. So many of us have been watching ourselves, needing to and practicing speaking our truth in a way that we never have before, whether it is with our family, our friends, our loved ones, our partners, or at our job, right? And I want to offer 6 sort of tools or techniques to start to think about as you are recognizing yourself needing to speak up more and voice your truths, voice your opinions. So the first tool or technique is to recognize that we have been programmed as humans, all of us, many of us, to behave in certain ways. 1, don't rock the boat, be silent, right? Quiet yourself. Don't be loud. Don't be obnoxious. Follow the herd, right? Follow what everyone else is doing. You don't want to be an outcast. And these are behaviors that we're noticing in the external right now. Massively. Nothing wrong with it. It's programming. It's part of being a human. Nothing wrong with it. But when you start speaking truth, you will find yourself bumping up against these programs, because these programs of being silent, following the herd, don't rock the boat, conform, those are all ways of not necessarily speaking your truth, right? It's going to pull you a little bit from your truth. So number 1, just start to recognize that there are programs that we hold, that we do, that we be, that we've learned from a very young age. And a lot of the time when we start to try to speak our truth, we will butt up against those. So be aware of that. Number 2, everything is energy. So you are energy. And when you are having the exchange with the other individual, instead of being in the mind, can you start to just feel the exchange, right? Can you start to step out of, he said this, and now I'm going to say this, and now they're going to say this, and now I'm going to say this, but instead, can you drop into feeling just a little bit more? What are you feeling? As you're about to speak your truth, what are you feeling? As they're about to tell you that that's not an okay thing to think or to believe, what are you feeling? The reason we want to get into the feeling of it, because we will have a better way of understanding what is actually happening, as opposed to an unconscious programmed way of being. So when we're in the mind, it's unconscious. We're programmed. We're just responding and reacting in this hamster wheel type of way. We're not even conscious of what we're doing. When we start feeling, we become more conscious of how we are responding and reacting. Okay, we're starting to get a better idea of what's going on. Number 3, this has everything to do with you and nothing to do with the other individual. So we step out of victimhood. That other individual is doing nothing to you. They're not making you conform. They're not making you feel bad. They're not making you change your truth, right? This is all about you starting to become the creator, that you are in charge of everything. And if you want to speak your truth and you get backlash from somebody, then that is their backlash. That's not you. You're learning how to separate your truth from their reaction and response. The only thing you're responsible for when you start speaking your truth is you speaking your truth. So really starting to embody this, wait, this is just about me. This is just about me speaking my truth, right? Over and over and over again. I'm not responsible for how they respond or react. 4, as you begin to speak your truth, whatever it looks like to you, 1, notice and be the observer of it. Okay, I'm now speaking my truth. They're now saying this. I'm now saying this. They're now doing this, right? You're observing from a bird's eye view. You're observing yourself as you're doing it. And 2, you're not trying to change anyone. And you don't try to defend yourself. Trying to change somebody is an energy that will create suffering and it will create an argument. Defending yourself will create suffering and it will create an argument. You're finding yourselves in a frequency of, I'm just literally speaking my truth. I have no attachment to how they respond. I have no attachment to how it makes them feel. I am here as a human to understand that my truth deserves to be spoken, and I am okay speaking it. I'm safe speaking it regardless of how the other person responds or reacts. Number five, sorry, I have my piece of paper. When you start speaking your truth, do not be surprised when the other person tries to pull you back into the old programs. You're not conforming. You're not following the rules, right? Or you're not following what everyone else is doing. You shouldn't be saying these things. You need to be quiet. You're rocking the boat. Those are old programs. Totally cool. Nothing wrong with it. But when you start speaking your truth, you may find yourself stepping out of those programs. And if you do, recognize when you are being pushed back in. Just recognize, because it can feel uncomfortable when we start to pull ourselves out of those old programs. It's okay. It's part of it. And then number 6, let the other individual have their experience, have their response, have their reaction. If you can put yourself into some sort of space of empathy or compassion when you're speaking your truth, instead of fighting, arguing, debating, and trying to hold your truth like, no, I am going to speak my truth and this is my truth and you are not going to convince me otherwise, and anger almost, you're going to battle. You're going to be in a battle. Instead, you just open-heartedly, compassionately, empathically speak your truth. And that's it. And if they have a response and a reaction, which they might, which many will, you let them have it. You let them have it. You're not here to change their truth. They want to change your truth. That's okay. The more you can settle into that space of peace as you speak your truth, the easier this is going to be. It's going to be easier when you hold them in compassion and empathy. You see, what's the deeper piece here is trauma and shadow, your inner child. Our trauma, okay, is holding us back from speaking our truth. Our trauma convinces us not to speak our truth. Our trauma keeps us safe, right? Our trauma says, don't rock the boat. The trauma piece will say, just do what everyone else is doing. Or the trauma piece may say, argue and fight, argue and fight, argue and fight. When we start actually dealing with our trauma from a very young age, tapping into that inner child that just wants to be loved and seen, then all of these steps are null and void, because you are just literally being you. And you are being you from a place of compassion and empathy and an aligned state, a higher version of you. So you know that you are designed to speak your truth. You know that you are safe to speak your truth. And you know that you won't be pulled in any other direction, no matter what somebody says. There's a lot of trauma that is projected onto you when you start to speak your truth. They're going to say, what are you doing? They're going to try to convince you to move to their beliefs, etc., etc. When you start speaking your truth, you have to start to firmly hold yourself in your truth. You've got to start to love yourself enough, which is where the trauma comes in. Many of us don't love ourselves enough to speak our truth. So we subside or we give in. We don't feel worthy enough. Believe it or not, it's very unconscious. It's trauma. So if you really want to get to the core of speaking truth, get to the trauma. Get to the underlying issues here. But these band-aids, these 6 steps that I just told you about, those kind of like are band-aids that you can put on that will sort of allow you to navigate speaking your truth until we really start to dive deeper into the trauma. Because all of us are designed to safely stand in our bodies and speak our truth. All of us, without being bullied or name-called or convinced to go a different direction, right? We're not here to convince or force somebody, push somebody into our truths or our beliefs. We're here to allow an individual to have their truth. Most of humanity's not there yet. So most of humanity is going to play in those old programs, right? Follow the herd, don't rock the boat, be silent, etc., etc. So if you're aware of this and you know that this is what is occurring, then don't be surprised. Relax into people having a reaction and a response to you speaking truth. Again, this is about you taking responsibility for speaking your truth. So Remember that there's old programs that you're going to fall back into. Remember that this is all about energy. How are you feeling when you are exchanging? 3, it's about you, not them. There are no victims. You're not a victim to what they're doing. You are choosing. If you go back and do what they want you to do, that's your choice, not theirs. 4, as you start to speak your truth, 1, become the observer, and 2, step out of victimhood. You're not a victim, right? 5, as you start speaking your truth, notice, am I moving backward into these old programs, or am I uncomfortably moving out of the programs? And 6, let the other individual or individuals have their truths, have their reactions, have their responses. Let them have it. And take baby steps, always having compassion for yourself. Baby steps and compassion as you start learning to speak your truth more and more, right? Hold firm boundaries if people get aggressive with you, right? Try not to get aggressive back. Don't respond with the same frequency. If they're angry, if they're confused, if they don't understand, it's coming from a place of fear. Many times it's coming from trauma and fear. They're afraid. They don't understand, okay? And so if you can learn how to see them as a human that is just in trauma as well, just trying to navigate their life as well, but you continue to hold yourself and your truth, nobody's going to make your life miserable unless you let them. Seriously. So if they start to bully you, step away. If they start telling you that you're horrible and that you're a bad person and they're going to stop following you or they're not going to be your friend, let them. Let them. Make difficult choices right now if that's what you need to do in order to be in your truth, because only more peace, more joy, more love, more compassion, more empathy, more abundance, more of these beautiful states of being will come to you as you start to honor your truth. So I hope this made sense. There are deeper levels to speaking truth. These are some band-aids that we can practice in the meantime. I love you. And, you know, speaking truth seems like it's an easy thing to do, but it's very challenging for a lot of us right now. But it's a gift. It's how we awaken, and it's how we move into higher states of consciousness. So be gentle with yourself, be gentle with others, and thanks for being here.